Number 10. God Save the Undies. To start off this list, let's begin with one of the first celebrity stalkers I could find, Edward Jones. In the 19th century, he was known as the Buckingham Palace Intruder. Why? Jones fell in love with Queen Victoria via a painting and just had to get closer to her. He was caught in 1838 going through Queen Victoria's dressing room with her underwear stuffed down his pants holding a letter to the Queen. Strangely enough, he was not convicted of a crime. The man sure had tenacity. Even after being caught, he continued to break into the palace up to the point where the royal family had enough of him and sent him to the Navy, where he was to never return to bother the Queen again. Rumor has it, he still has the underwear. Number 9. Olympic level insanity. In 2009, Shawn Johnson discovered the dangers of being a young attractive girl in Hollywood. Yes, her name is Shawn, try not to get confused. The Olympic gold medal athlete was a contestant on Dancing with the Stars. As a result of her fame, Floridan Robert O'Ryan became absolutely obsessed with her. He eventually traveled from Florida all the way to the set of Dancing with the Stars in California and tried to break into the set, where he was fortunately arrested. The full extent of his bizarre behavior became clearer in the trial. On the way to California, he was stopped in Alabama by an officer. In the dashcam footage, they talked for 30 minutes about how he was going to convince her to marry him, and that he had always been telepathically communicating with her, even going as far as to suggest that Johnson spoke to him during the Beijing Olympics. When they arrested him, they found 2 guns, duct tape, a wooden club, and poetry, among other small gifts. Pretty sure that's not how you convince someone to marry you. At least, not the right way. Number 8. Bieber Fever. It's not strange that Justin Bieber has a ton of fans, but 45-year-old male Dana Martin did not fit the description for the typical groupie. In prison, he became so obsessed with Bieber that he fashioned his own tattoo gun to get a tattoo of Justin on his left leg. This rapist murderer, who was sentenced to life in prison, then became angry for 2 reasons. For one, Bieber never responded, and second, Bieber changed from his original image. Because of that, Martin conspired with 2 other felons to kidnap, castrate, and murder the pop idol, along with his bodyguard and friends. In a twist of fate, things took a turn for the worse when the 2 contracted killers turned onto the wrong road and ended up at the Canadian border instead of Vermont. When stopped by the police, they discovered the plan, the tools, the weapons, and even a hand-drawn picture of Justin. Martin remains in jail, where in his last interview he said he would still have sex with Justin. Yeah, good luck with that. Number 7. Letters to Letterman. Schizophrenia has never been a friend to anyone. For David Letterman, he learned this firsthand. For over 10 years, a Margaret Mary Ray believed him to be her husband. The erratic behavior that ensued became a source of jokes he made on his show. She was arrested 8 times for breaking into his home, often showing up with her child claiming that he was Letterman's son. Mary would also send him letters and the occasional gift. Once, she even stole his car. Letterman joked that perhaps maybe he should change his address. After a couple arrests, she was sent to a psych ward, where she later changed her attention to a retired astronaut. She ended her spree of stalking by committing suicide by kneeling in front of an oncoming train in 1998. Number 6. A Moment Like This. Sandra Mae McIntyre was obsessed with Paula Abdul. She may have been her #1 fan. Sandra changed her name legally to Paula Goodspeed, and by 16, she dressed and sounded exactly like Paula Abdul. Although at first look, she wasn't entirely grasping her image. Watch her audition on American Idol. When she finally got to meet Abdul on the set of American Idol, she was very quickly rejected by the judges. Frustrated with her situation, Goodspeed continued to stalk Abdul until the day she overdosed in a car parked in front of Abdul's home. The police found inside the car license plated ABL-LV and a photo of the star. She even sent flowers just before her death. At least she finally got to meet her idol. Some people wait a lifetime. Number 5. You Have Mail. In 1999, Dante Michael Soyu sent mail to Gwyneth Paltrow, up to 10 packages per day. The contents included gifts, flowers, letters, candy, pizza, and most importantly, porn labeled with his and her name on it. The 51-year-old pizza delivery man showed up to Paltrow's parents' house even after the FBI warned him to stop. Once, he even sent her a vibrator saying, "Because I love you." In his testimony, he claimed that he would put a curse upon her parents if she stood up to him. Paltrow testified that she felt threatened by him and that he sent her sexually threatening messages. When being charged, Soyu replied, "If a man gives a woman unconditional love, she is blessed." A little creepy, but in his letters he also claimed that he would take God's scalpel and cut the sin out of Paltrow. Whatever he means by that, it doesn't sound too good. Number 4. In the Doghouse. Actress Catherine Zeta-Jones is married to actor Michael Douglas. A crazy stalker, Dawnette Knight, is in love with Michael Douglas too. The solution? Stalking and threats. Oh, of course. Knight became very protective of Douglas when she started reading magazines that claimed that Zeta-Jones was cheating on him. To counter this, Knight began to tell Zeta-Jones that she was cheating with Douglas already, although no one believes the story. Furthermore, Knight started to threaten her directly, saying, quote, "We are going to slice her up like meat on a bone and feed her to the dogs." In the trial that sent her to jail, Knight could be seen staring silently at Zeta-Jones as she read, "Your actions will be with me for the rest of my life, how I will be constantly observing and looking over my shoulder." She is already out of prison. Now that's a real problem. Number 3. Mind control murderer. The pharmaceutical companies must be going nuts, because the next stalker sure needed them. Diane Annapolis fervently believed that Steven Spielberg and his wife were part of a satanic cult that practiced child abuse and that could catch others' souls. At the same time, she would stalk both Spielberg and Hewitt at different events and movie premieres, screaming that they were murderers. In one claim, she believed that Hewitt practiced mind control via a microchip and was trying to kill Annapolis. She's been prescribed medication for delusional behavior. Wow, that couldn't come sooner. Number 2. John Hinkley Jr. John Hinkley Jr. is famous in the USA for being obsessed with Jodie Foster after watching the movie Taxi Driver. In 1980, he purposefully enrolled and followed her to Yale University, where he would leave her notes and poems. As to stick with the general stalker motives, he would also repeatedly phone her, to no avail. Since she didn't respond, he dreamt of hijacking an airplane or committing suicide in front of her so that she would finally notice him. His last effort plan involved assassinating the president. He sent one final letter, reading, "The reason I'm going ahead with this attempt now is because I cannot wait to impress you any longer." Hinkley later drove to Washington, D.C., where he shot 6 times at Ronald Reagan, where luckily no one died. He was found not guilty due to reason of insanity. I guess I could understand that. Number 1. Happiness is a warm gun. Arguably one of the most famous stalkers in our recent history is Mark David Chapman. Chapman became intoxicated with the idea of ending John Lennon. In October 1980, Chapman flew to New York to finally conduct his plan. It is reported that he offered cocaine to the taxi driver and ranted on to singer James Taylor in the subway about how he was going to get Lennon while sweating profusely. Well, sounds like a typical cokehead to me. As Lennon returned to his hotel, Chapman shot Lennon 5 times, and instead of running, stood there with his signed copy of The Catcher in the Rye reading. In court, he chose not to plead insanity, and rather pled to second-degree murder. He later said in an interview that he killed Lennon just because he was famous. We probably could have used Chapman when Hitler was around. Then, instead of killing a musical genius, he would be getting rid of a fascist dictator.